Hello, everybody. They thought I wasn't here, but I am here, and I'm excited to speak. What I'm going to be talking about today is starting a company with a disability. And personally, for me, this is a hearing loss. I've had a hearing loss my whole life. It progressed to the point where I lost all of my hearing a couple of years ago, and I was fortunate to acquire a cochlear implant, which brought my speech comprehension from 10% all the way back up to 90%. I'm going to talk about a couple of solutions that worked well for me because I think the focus on solutions for this conference is extremely important. However, I don't think the same things work for everybody. I think everybody has a different story about overcoming these types of obstacles. And I think that some of the solutions that I'm going to speak about aren't just about people with disabilities, but all kinds of inclusiveness in tech and startups in general. So for me personally, the number one thing that helped me get through these obstacles was my co-founder and my team early on. Nobody believed in us when we started. We had a lot to overcome, but he had watched me from the beginning of my hearing loss to losing everything, to getting a cochlear implant, to coming back to life through that. And because of that and his experiences seeing me grow, and knowing what I was good at, knowing what my weaknesses were, he believed in me, and we believed in each other. And our team, I think, became just an excellent mesh together, which led to our company thriving over time. I think that surrounding yourself with people that understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, understand your disability or anything that's holding you back, is extremely important, and I think it helps you overcome things when maybe things aren't going well and maybe you're not encountering all types of people that are cheering you on around the world. The second thing I want to talk about is just raising awareness about access, and not just access, but about things like hearing loss. This Sunday, I was reading New York Times Magazine, and there was a small letter, and it was a man in his 50s who said that he had applied for a job, and he wasn't sure if he should wear his hearing aids to the job interview. So I'm reading this, and honestly, I'm baffled by it. I think it's just insane that in this day and age, we're in the year 2016, and somebody that in their 50s is scared to wear a hearing aid to a job interview. One strategy that I took personally was I always led with my disability. I always talked about my cochlear implant, how I overcame it, and how just because I had access to hearing now, I was able to start my company, and now things are going very well for us. So I think that just raising awareness about that in general, if you see people with different types of disabilities, not being afraid. I think there was a recruiter that asked a question before about veterans and stuff like that. I don't think it's wrong to ask somebody about their disability in an interview. I think that legally, everybody's very apprehensive about these types of things. But for me personally, if you see somebody with hearing aids or any type of disability, there's no reason why you can't talk about it, you can't ask them about it. It really is very similar to glasses. It's not like anything that's insane, and I think just because it affects such a small amount of the population is a real reason why people aren't used to seeing it. But I know I see other people here with cochlear implants today, and I think that awareness will be raised over time. But it's going to take an effort from everybody, and it definitely takes time to do that. I get stopped around New York City all the time, and people say, "What's that thing on your head? What are you wearing?" And the third thing, going back to access, is what my company does is we actually repurpose hardware from enterprises for schools, nonprofits, and underserved communities. So old computers that companies like Google and Twitter and Airbnb have, they sit there in closets. They're great machines. They can be used by communities. And it relates personally back to my disability as far as tech access. If I didn't have access to hearing aids when I was younger or a cochlear implant when I got older, I wouldn't be here speaking. I wouldn't have been able to start a company. I wouldn't have been able to raise venture capital. I wouldn't have been able to build a team and do a lot of these things. And I think it's extremely important that we think about access as we move forward over the next 10 or 20 years, especially with things like hardware. They're in the tech community and at most of these very sexy companies. You made some very good points before about the culture there. People are just very out of touch. They think that their one-year-old computer is e-waste. It's a very nice computer. It can be used by other people. There's 5-year-old computers that can be used by other people. Same thing for all types of things that have to do with access. These things are out there, but we have to find ways to raise awareness about them and get them to people that need them, or we'll never make progress there. So those are the 3 things that I think are really big for me personally. I think surrounding yourselves with people that believe in you early on when you're just finding yourself and overcoming those obstacles. Second is raising awareness about just any disability in general. Don't be scared to speak to people about it. Even now, I'm in several groups with people associated with hearing loss, and very often they still feel uncomfortable with it. It's something that people are like, oh, what, don't you want to get something smaller that I can hide? I don't see what there is to hide. Everybody knows about it. It's something that I think we need to embrace. And third, access. There's all types of technology access out there. If you work at a company where people can benefit from access, or you need access yourself, don't be afraid to ask for it. And don't be scared. I think that you have to be fearless when overcoming these things. I think it's scary in the beginning because it is harder than it is for everybody else. But when you do overcome those obstacles, it really does become special. Over time, people recognize it, and if you're building something great, everybody starts to pay attention.